The 2026 MLB draft is shaping up to be one of the best in recent memory, filled with college stars and high potential prepsters. The college pitchers this year are great. The top of the board features 4 high-level guys with a wealth of experience and top-of-the-scale talents. It is highly contested which of these guys will go first come July. Which brings me to the goal of this video. Let's figure out who the best draft-eligible pitcher is while breaking down Cameron Flukey, Liam Peterson, Jackson Flora, and Gabe Gaeckle. Let's begin with Cameron Flukey, who's a 6'6" right-handed pitcher from Coastal Carolina University. Finishing as a national runner-up this year, Cameron Flukey had a great 2025 where he threw over 100 innings. As you can see, his xFIP was right around 3.4. He struck out 29% of batters while only walking 6. Most of these numbers were huge improvements off of a freshman year where Cameron Flukey was honestly really impressive for a freshman. He has a 4-pitch mix that's headlined by a fastball and a curveball. Flukey found consistent velocity in 2025, averaging about 95 miles per hour on the heater while topping out around 98. His fastball didn't perform as well as you would expect. It has some good two-plane movement to it, averaging around 20 inches of vertical break. However, it's got a pretty low spin rate. The whiff rate on Flukey's fastball, though, left something to be desired. I don't see it as a cause for concern, but I'm more just confused. It looks like Flukey used his fastball more in and out this year rather than up in the zone where it was going to play a lot better due to that vertical break. He has a pretty elite vertical approach angle of -4.7, and we should see better marks on that fastball moving forward once he starts using it up in the zone a little bit more. He also threw the pitch at a 74% strike rate, which is absolutely absurd. Curveball is his main secondary. The pitch comes out of the same exact tunnel as the fastball despite being about 20 miles per hour slower than the heater. Curveball had a whiff rate over 50% in 2025 while not getting a bunch of chase because he'd throw it in the zone and batters simply couldn't hit it. Pair that with an elite frame that could still probably add some size and a bulldog mentality. Cameron Flukey's a no-brainer first-round selection in July. The emergence of another pitch or the continued improvement of his fastball could help Flukey go even further up boards. I really like the thought of the Athletics drafting him at 5. The A's have done some really cool stuff in the pitching department lately despite Mike McFerrin leaving this offseason, and I'm pretty bullish on what they're doing moving forward. Next, let's talk about Liam Peterson, the 6'5" righty from Florida. Peterson stayed home in his local Florida area, becoming an immediate workhorse for the Gators in 2024 and doubling down on that in 2025. He improved greatly between his first and second years in college, increasing his strikeout rate by 5% while cutting the walk rate by 3% to put up some really respectable splits. His xFIP at 3.37 was one of the lowest marks in all of college baseball in 2025, and he's thrown 4 pretty distinct pitch shapes. The fastball averages the most vertical movement of any of these 4 pitchers we're going to talk about today, right around 21 inches of IVB. It's got a cut ride profile that orgs are certain to like. He doesn't have a lead extension and he doesn't have unique release traits. He simply wins with a good cut ride heater that gets thrown really damn hard. He averaged 95 on the pitch this year while topping out at 99. His main put-away pitch is his slider that's been up to 89 miles per hour. The pitch spins at an above-average rate and gets a surprising amount of horizontal bite. Peterson struggled to get chase on the pitch in 2025, but it plays well in the zone getting whiffs. Peterson also goes to a changeup fairly often, having a real out pitch against lefties. I'm pretty sure he has a seam-shifted wake changeup, but I cannot confirm that. It's got really good two-plane movement and it's thrown pretty hard. It does not get punished, it gets chase, it gets whiff. It's a pretty good changeup that orgs are definitely not going to tinker with too much. He also messed around with the curveball in 2025, but it had a kind of similar movement profile to the slider, with about the same horizontal movement with just a little bit more vertical break. I think it could emerge this year as a true 4th pitch if he gets a little bit more vertical separation between that and the slider. The question mark for Peterson moving forward is the command and control. He was generally wild at times last year, but he was playing in a really good conference. His stuff is so good that he doesn't often get punished for mistakes, but he had a decently high home run to fly ball rate last year, which is a bit of a cause for concern. Without any outlier release traits and not a true elite breaking ball, it's hard to say what Peterson's really going to be in the future. Right now, he looks like just a really good starting pitcher. I just don't know if he has that ace upside that we talk about with some of these other guys. I think Peterson to the Los Angeles Angels makes a lot of sense. Knowing that they want someone who's going to rise quickly through their system, Peterson's the most likely starter to reach the big leagues out of this four, in my opinion. If we look down the board, he also makes sense to some of these other teams, like the Boston Red Sox at 20, who always seem to get a really good player later in the first round. Next up, let's talk about Jackson Flora, the 6'5 righty from UC Santa Barbara. Flora's probably the hardest guy to evaluate in this group. He's following in Tyler Bremner's footsteps, being a likely first-round pitcher out of UCSB. Let's start off with the obvious, though. Flora played the worst competition out of any arm in this tier. However, the Big West is a sneaky good conference, and we didn't see Bremner get punished at all for his conference last year, getting selected number 2 overall. Here's the truth with Jackson Flora. He's got the highest ceiling out of any pitcher in this draft. It begins with the fact that Flora topped out at 100.3 miles per hour this spring. The only guy in this group to hit triple digits. His fastball sat at 96.9 miles per hour, one of the highest marks in all of college baseball. Flora pitches with an edge. He has swag. He wears a sleeveless turtleneck. What much more could you ask for in a pitcher? The fastball is in fact king with Flora, throwing over 50% heaters in 2025. The pitch got a lot of chase, north of 25%, with above average whiff ratings as well. It doesn't have a super outlier shape when you look at it on paper. However, he's got a really low vertical approach angle of negative 4.6, allowing it to play up really well. With the present velocity and the release traits, he's got one of the most diabolical fastballs in all of college baseball. Flora's main secondary is a slider, which profiles as a sweeper. Flora, with his supination bias, is able to throw that pitch really hard for how much horizontal movement it gets. At times, he's able to play with the shape too, throwing a tighter slider variation on occasion. Sweeper averages around 83 miles per hour with negative 15 inches of horizontal movement. His fastball and sweeper together could probably get some outs in an MLB bullpen right now. He's got great feel for the sweeper and the fastball, slashing his walk rate in half between his first and second year in school. Strike throwing doesn't appear to be a big concern of Flora's moving forward. The red flag with all of this is he only has feel for 2 pitches. His main secondary is a sweeper, a pitch that is generally becoming frowned upon within baseball communities. Orgs often opt for more vertically breaking pitches rather than those big horizontal sweepers. He threw a couple of changeups in 2025, but out of the few dozen that he threw, he got 0 whiffs on that pitch. It's fair to assume that UCSB is working on it right now as we speak. However, he really needs that third pitch to come along for Orgs to view him as a true starter at the next level. He's got a pretty wiry frame still, so I wouldn't be surprised if he starts hitting more 100s super soon. As he continues to grow, and if he adds another pitch, he might go down as the best pitcher in this class. I think he makes a lot of sense with the Nationals at number 11. The Nationals are a team that's completely gutted their pitching development system this year, as well as their front office. If they opt for some college talent this year, they could use some real help with some of their arms. They have a couple guys who are close to MLB, but not a whole lot else in their system. Last but not least, let's talk about Gabe Gaeckle, who had a really good 2025 pitching for Arkansas. The right-handed junior is only 6 feet tall, which is the immediate concern with Gaeckle. However, he might be the most ready-made pitcher of the bunch, having advanced velocity and true feel for 4 pitches. Gaeckle had a really head-turning freshman campaign, where he worked exclusively out of the bullpen, limiting runs at a really high level while punching out batters at an insane rate for a 19-year-old. Gaeckle's sophomore season saw him transition into a hybrid role, where he started 9 games and came out of the pen in 10. His numbers still looked really good, but we've only seen him start a handful of games at the college level so far. The real question with Gaeckle is how much more can he develop? It doesn't look like there's a whole lot more velocity to be found on Gaeckle's frame or within his delivery. It's a really high effort delivery, and he uses legs really well, sinking down kind of like Jack Leiter did when he was at Vandy. And Gaeckle's negative 4.3 VAA is one of the best marks in the whole class, so he has some deception to him. His fastball sits at 95 and tops out at 98. That's a pretty average shape, which isn't actually so average when you factor in its attack angle. The rest of the arsenal is where Gaeckle really starts to shine, having 4 true shapes. His slider is his main secondary, throwing it hard, averaging 86 miles per hour on the pitch in 2025. It has a slightly larger 2-plane movement than most true sliders, but it gets a lot of whiff, right around 41%. Gaeckle also mixes in a big curveball with a lot of vertical movement. Hitters couldn't lay off the curveball, whiffing 65% of the time at the pitch, making one of the best performing secondaries in college baseball. Gaeckle's changeup is pretty good too, with true 2-plane movement, while once again getting a bunch of whiffs. SEC hitters really struggle to figure out Gaeckle, and it's almost a bit surprising he didn't strike out more batters with how well his stuff graded out. It's really hard to get past the frame with Gaeckle because orgs are looking for people to continue to develop once they get into pro ball. Because of that fact alone, he's going to be lower on most boards than a lot of these other guys. The intrigue, however, with Gaeckle is that he's going to fly through the minor leagues and be either a really good mid-rotation starter or a high-level reliever if things don't work out. I think Gaeckle makes a lot of sense in the comp round, probably to a team like Atlanta at 26 or maybe Arizona at 29. And honestly, if your organization doesn't have a really good pitcher development system, I think Gaeckle's probably a pretty good fit for him. He doesn't have a whole lot left to do. But let's move on from the breakdowns. Let's start doing some comparisons between all of these pitchers. As you can see here, we have some base level statistics for all four of these guys, including team strength of schedule, which I think is kind of important in this discussion. If we look at that team strength of schedule, we immediately see that Peterson and Gaeckle pitching in the SEC faced really good hitters really consistently. Jackson Flora, on the other hand, did not face as good of teams, which makes sense based on their conferences. Cameron Fluky gets a big boost here for pitching so much in the playoffs, despite not pitching in a power conference. I think the most interesting thing about all of these guys is that their expected FIPS are so close to each other, with Flora having the highest at 3.69 and Liam Peterson having the lowest at 3.37. All of them struck out about the same amount of batters, give or take, 2 or 3 percentage points, and all of them limited their walks well enough. Obviously, Peterson and Gaeckle are a little higher at 10% there, but still a really good rate. Fluky and Flora threw a lot of strikes. When looking at the home run to fly ball rate, we can see that Peterson and Gaeckle gave up some more long balls in 2025. However, it makes sense given their quality of competition. I'm pretty impressed with Flukey's rate here at 6%, knowing the kinds of hitters he faced last year. And once again, Peterson gave up a lot more slug than the rest of these guys. While this isn't an expected stat, I do think it points to something interesting here about Liam Peterson. The rest of these guys all have really unique release traits, especially on the fastball with that vertical approach angle. Peterson does not. He's got a lot of ride to his fastball, but he's got pretty traditional release metrics, which I think is why hitters were able to barrel him up so much. Let's start off by comparing Liam Peterson and Gabe Gaeckle because they both pitched in the SEC. Both of them had pretty similar numbers on the year. However, we got to look at the ceiling for both of these guys. Well, Gaeckle has a pretty sturdy floor, so does Liam Peterson, but the ceiling lies in the frame, man. Peterson's going to continue to grow and reach the upper echelons of velocity thresholds, whereas Gaeckle, man, he's pretty much maxed out. Knowing that Peterson does have the higher ceiling, we have our first ranking then. All right, we're going to put Liam Peterson over Gabe Gaeckle. The case for Jackson Flora over all of these guys is he throws almost 2 miles per hour harder than the rest of them. Every tick on the radar gun projects that pitchers are going to have better outcomes, so it's kind of hard to pick against Flora in this case. However, there's a clear disadvantage with Jackson Flora, and that is the arsenal. He only has 2 pitches. Both of them are pretty good, but the sweeper being the main secondary is pretty concerning to me. I don't think I can put a 2-pitch guy as the number 1 pitcher in this class, so now we have another kind of ranking here. I'm not going to put Flora at number 1. However, I will immediately put Flora over Gabe Gaeckle due to the projectability that MLB organizations covet so much. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with him and Liam Peterson yet, though. Finally, we get to Cameron Fluki, and I really like the release traits here. He's got such a low VAA out of a big frame, and it's really rare to see. Pair that with one of the best vertically breaking fastballs in the group, and you have a future elite pitch. I know the fastball didn't perform as well. It was honestly the worst performing fastball out of this whole group, but it projects to be probably the best performing as he continues to develop. MLB organizations aren't going to let him throw that fastball in and out as much as he has. They're going to make that thing go to the top of the zone and include maybe an alternate fastball and a sinker or a cutter to work around the edges. Fluky's low spin rates and his unorthodox delivery give him the deception that modern MLB scouts covet. We saw it with guys like Trey Savage. We see it with Jonah Tong and even Jamie Arnold in last year's draft. Guys with unique release traits and deliveries should be given a priority in the draft. Fluky's main secondary is a big curveball too. How many modern MLB pitchers throw plus curveballs as their main put-away pitch? I can only name a few. The slider is going to continue to develop. We hope the changeup comes along here soon. Cameron Fluky has ace-level upside and has present results we can point to. I like Fluky's 2-pitch combination more than anyone else's by a lot. I also like the thought of him expanding his arsenal in the future. Despite the fact that Liam Peterson has 4-ish pitches right now and Fluky only has 2.5 maybe, I still lean Cameron Fluky as the best pitcher in this draft. I think it's important to note that Cameron Fluky has 2 seasons of success at the college level. It wasn't just success, it was really impressive stuff. I think Cameron Fluky has the ceiling over Liam Peterson, which is going to influence this final decision. I think Liam Peterson probably has a higher floor than Cameron Fluky, but I want to value the ceiling over the floor in this case. But no matter how deep I dive, this is all super preliminary. These 4 arms have the biggest year of their lives ahead of them, with plenty set to change before July. At the end of the day, I see 4 extremely talented pitchers that appear destined for first-round selections and bright futures. So my final ranking looks like this. At number 1, we go with Cameron Flukey. At 2A, we go Liam Peterson, and at 2B, we go Jackson Flora. I think you can really interchange those two. I don't think there's a huge value difference between them. And at number 4, we have Gabe Gaeckle. Thank you so much for watching. Please go read our work at overslotbaseball.com and consider subscribing. Goodbye.